Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you can paint this cute bird. I want to say it's a blue tit bird. I hope YouTube doesn't get confused, but that's what they're called, and I love them, and they're super cute. And so he's hiding under a leaf, holding on to an autumn leaf with the rain coming down. I'm going to show you how to do this step by step in acrylic. I'm going to show you the tools you need, all the color mixes, everything you need to do. On the mic is my child, Honey.
Hello.
Honey is going to be my co-host today because John has a lot to do. And so Honey's going to be the co-pilot. Honey will be reading questions from the live studio audience and switching cameras, making sure you can see what I'm painting and what I'm looking at. So if you have a question or you want to have something explained on air, put that all in caps. We try to get to as many as we can, but keep in mind that the moderators, which are butterflies and that have wrenches, they will make sure that you get your questions answered as well. So the goal is to answer everyone's questions, as many as we can on the show. This is a live show, but it's available for replay after. The traceables on the website at theartsherpa.com under the traceables tab. You can also find the materials linked to the Traceable, the website, and my art store in the description below. Pretty much everything. I hope y'all are enjoying the cutie patootie piggy that is kicking off our wonderful painting adventure. I've been in a very silly mood lately. But let's go over the materials. Yours does not need to start with adorable piggy. It can start with a white canvas. And while I am going to show you how to draw the bird and the leaf, I have a traceable on the website, and I'll tell you when you could use it if you don't want to draw. This today is an extra big. You can't tell it's extra big, but it's a 12 by 12 square canvas instead of an 8 by 8. So just gives us more room and makes it more of a statement piece for our home. I have the wish or intention that you are feeling on the inside, all happy and adorable like this pig, and that you're ready to go, let's paint. Now on my palette, and I'm going to go through and show each one because there's things that look similar but are actually different things. So this right here is Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, Ultramarine Blue, Quinacridone Magenta, and the paint I'm painting with today is the Acrylic, and so that line calls them Fuchsia Quinacridone, but it's tube 671. I have Cad Red Medium, Cad Yellow Medium, Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green. Now down the center and to the sides, I have Satin Glazing Liquid. Slows the drying time down of the paint, improves blendability, lets me glaze. I have 1, 2, 3 little plops of the glazing medium on my palette. Right here, I have zinc white, and this is titanium white. So zinc white is close to the bottom. The titanium white is centered, and the glazes go around. I know that's a lot of explanation for that, but I thought it might be helpful to y'all to know that. Now, the first thing we're going to do, and this is going to probably very stressful for some of you, is paint the whole surface burnt sienna. Now, I'm going to paint over my cutie patootie pig, but Honey will get me a screenshot of it later. Maybe I can make a traceable of it because he's funny. All right, you guys ready? He's going to go bye-bye, and then in his place is going to be an adorable Will Tickety. Okay, so we're going to go woo. Now, you can just paint straight from your palette onto the surface. I do this because it's just an easy, fun way for video as a way to put out paint. I just squeeze it out from the tube, burnt sienna, but it's not the most practical way to paint your whole canvas brown. It just works for my situation of being on camera doing a live show. And then obviously we also have the overhead that records this for a short time lapse. So when I'm not doing tips, I have the short time lapses of the paintings that are either have been done on the channel or will be done on the channel. And if they have been done, I'm using that new feature to hook them up together. So, because now they don't let anyone do links in shorts. Have you seen that, Honey, while we're painting all this brown, how no one's allowed to do links in shorts anymore?
I did not know that.
Yeah, in the comments. So now I can't just link the video in the comment for the real-time video. Hopefully my community will see like the new people who don't know who I am, and they'll be like, no, you're fine, you're good. Everything's okay.
Yeah.
Now you can paint the sides of the canvas if you want. Paint them at least a little bit around the side. That improves the result for framing. If you don't want to frame, you've got to paint them all the way around the side. I like to frame. And I'm just making sure it's smudged out. I want a nice solid field of reddish brown. It doesn't matter that there's little faint lines in there. That is okay. Yeah, so zinc white and titanium white are different. Titanium is very heavily pigmented and it is opaque. Zinc white is pigmented, but it's very transparent, so it lightens the shade of the paint without changing the color of the paint. I like it very much, and for certain really kind of oil effects, it's a wonderful tool to have. And we can kind of even go over it in our little book as we go. All right, I'm going to dry, and when we come back, honey, it'll be the next step.
Oh, I have to talk. Yeah. I forgot that's also part of this. I don't know what I was doing. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hello, hello. Yeah. Piggy behind the painting, and I'm sure as we add layers it'll disappear, but I like him. I like the faint piggy.
Do, 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 do. So I saw Jane asking why they might remove clickable links in shorts, and I'm going to guess spammers, because it's always spammers. Who is it? It's always spammers. So probably somebody was using it to fake being creators or to defraud people. It's just bad actors and people like me who use it to give you guys a link so you can just find the video easier or the traceable or whatever. We all get penalized because somebody's got to try to rip off our grandparents. Isn't that lovely? Don't we love them? Let's send them all light that they suddenly come to the realization this is a terrible way to live your life and they need to do better. Let's send that thought to them. All right. I was going to go dark, but we don't need any more of that in the world right now. Let's go on to this next step, and we're going to start painting in the blended background. Now, to do the blended background, I have some tools I really love. The first tool I really love is the 1-inch Princeton Select Oval Mop. It is the one that goes reddish brown to dark ends, not the black, not the white. I have it for sale on my website. You got to have some blending brushes. These also are really fantastic for doing varnish, but I have varnish brushes dedicated for varnish. And then the other brushes are dedicated for something else. Now I'm going to take my phthalo, my ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to get a little glazing medium kind of mixed up into this. And this one I'm going to go into my titanium white for because I do want it to be quite opaque. And I'm going to begin putting out sort of little soft diffuse spots. Notice that I am not pressing very hard. I'm letting some of the brown show through. I'm starting to create that sense of diffusion through this. If I need more, I'll just grab a little more glazing medium because again, I do want some of the brown to show through. This layering is how we get that gemmy kind of oil effect. See how I'm going back through? Did we miss a step? Okay. No? Okay. All right.
We are all good.
You weird me out, y'all. Don't weird out the artist. All right. So I'm just coming through here, and you can see it's sort of even in this application a bit patchy because a lot of this will be like distant, out of focus, light coming through kind of an autumn series of dried bushes.
Everyone is waving goodbye to the piggy.
Goodbye, piggy. So sad. Piggy, go bye-bye. Now, as I come through here, I'm going to get a little bit more of my brown on my brush, and I'm going to get a smidge of my phthalo green.
Phthalo green.
And I'm going to come in and blend it right in. But in spots. See, I'm leaving little spots broken up. That's how we're going to get that. We're going to come and get that. It's okay to get a little cad yellow into it. And a little more burnt sienna if you want it to read more gold. So we're really going to be dancing this between these greens and browns, and that's how we're going to get our late end of year feeling going.
Yeah.
Oops, I picked up a little bit of my zinc white. That's okay though, that'll happen. I'm going to just smudge it out. So what happened there is I just wasn't careful with my brush and I grabbed some zinc white. That'll happen on occasion. Just working this glaze through. We're going to get this little bird. What's going to be great is this bird's going to be even more fun than the reference. The rain will be splashing down. I've got some really fun techniques to share with y'all. I'm going to come here with a little more yellow and a little more brown into this. Just building that up. And the other nice thing about painting a slightly larger canvas is that it will make the final painting look a little bit better. See, I'm getting a little green here.
It is Sabrina's first time watching live.
Really?
Discovered you a couple days ago.
Well, welcome. It's tons of fun. Now, I'm not pressing very hard. The glazing medium is and again, this is the Golden Artist Colors one. This one here, the satin glazing liquid, is what's slowing down the drying time and allowing me to do transparent applications.
So how close are you getting to the canvas?
How do you mean?
With the brush.
I touch the canvas. Does that what I mean?
Yeah, but like, are you like really like putting in like thick strokes or
okay,
light
so
strokes?
That's how much pressure I'm using.
Pressure.
So I am using a very light, delicate pressure. I use this about the same as if you're a person who's ever contoured your face, it's about the same pressure as facial contouring. I do that a lot now, so now I know that that's the same. So you can see I can come in here and add a little more yellow and brown into this mix.
Does anybody know what kind of bird that is? Isn't it a blue tipped?
Oh, were you asking me?
Yeah.
It's a blue tit.
A blue tit.
Yes, yes. Remember, because I'm always like, I want to start an OnlyFans account and like paint like blue-footed boobies and blue tits and red tits. There's all these birds that have these names that just really sound suspicious and they're funny, especially if you have the sense of humor of a grade schooler, which I do.
Oh, yeah.
And see, we're just building up this area out here with layers of burnt sienna and cad yellow medium and a little bit of our phthalo green. And I'm going to come back into my blue here and I'll grab a little of my burnt sienna.
We have another first time watching live from
And we're going to run through of this through here. Who's first time watching live? We're just dabbing this around in a regular way. Welcome, Letitia.
Yes.
Welcome, Letitia. I hope you are having a good day. You are very, very welcome. I'm pulling these little moments of light and you can see sort of blending them through. Go back into my burnt sienna and my yellow and a little bit of green and kind of bring this through here. We're going to keep popping that back, breaking up those little spots of light. Breaking in little spots of light. And the slight gray cast is because of the brown into the blue, and then we're putting it loosely out here.
It's looking like a background.
I mean, that's what we do, right? We do some backgrounds over here.
Do some backgrounds.
One thing I'm always proud of you as an artist about is that you're very good about including environments.
Oh yeah, it took me a while to figure out backgrounds because they just were so intimidating because it's a lot. It feels like a lot. But in reality, it's like just drawing a bunch of things. Add a bunch of things.
So you can see I keep putting this gray blue out here, which again is the burnt sienna and a little bit of ultramarine blue and white. And it will go from a brown gray to a blue gray, depending on if you have more blue or brown in it. And then I'm going to get a little white into this. And so this is sort of creating our blustery day that's peeking through. And we're going to just add little points out here. Now, one of the tricks that we do to make sure that our little blue tit over here hanging onto this leaf and hiding from the rain, that this little cutie patootie is using more phthalo blue and then the background, which will help him feel like a very different vibrant blue. I'm bringing these little patterns over here, kind of breaking this up. We make these more than what nature gives us or our Photoshop gives us. You want to give it more than that.
We have a question. What is the best way to organize brushes by size or type?
By length of handle and then by type and size, kind of in that order. You can break it down into those subcategories in that way. You're in good shape.
Handle, type,
yeah,
size.
because like I need a different cup for short handle than I do for a long handle. And then if the brushes get very big, then I want to separate those out from smaller. And then also I want to know what type of brush it is and what size of brush it is so I can find it. Right now, is my brush bucket an example of that? Not really. But that's what it is when I'm fully unpacked and things are going well. I talk to friends. I do all kinds of things when things are going well.
I really like how this painting is going. It's interesting how such a simple background can have like a lot of elements to it.
It is, isn't it? It does kind of just pull us into that weird sort of space. Now, another thing that I do want to do, I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to get a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red together.
Would you please explain?
And glazing medium. I will in just a second. Let me get through this one technique. I'm going to add a little bit more burnt sienna. And I'm going to come through and add just a few pops. See how much brighter this color is? It will help us feel it's even more autumn than even our reference gave us. Okay, now ask the question.
Would you please explain pushing something back and pulling something forward?
Yes.
And a couple other people agree that that was a good question.
It is a good question. In fact, if you have good questions, please also leave them as comments on the channel, even if I answer them during a live, because I think I'm going to start a live segment where I answer questions as shorts with demos.
Ooh.
So if you'd like to be one of those experimental people, I try. I may fail, but I'll try. But so pulling something forward is where the optical illusion of something being closer to us or more central in the image it takes place, or something seems distant and more remote. By desaturating something and softening its edges, it helps push it back into a background.
Thank you so much, Heather C.
I'm just adding a few bits. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my red here. I'm just trying to make sure that there's some feeling. Notice that I use the corner of the brush. I can do so much more. And this is in no way shade of photographers, because love you guys. But there are things I can do in painting that you guys can't do without photo editing or photoshopping.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and so I can make something even more in my painting than maybe my reference was willing to give me. And we're going to do some interesting things even to make this seem more stormy. First, we have to dry it thoroughly, though. Thank you, Heather C.
We're gonna dry it thoroughly.
VRA says desaturated. I need it simplified. No offense, none taken. So, and I do have classes that explain at like just a real basic level, like where I try to make those classes where every age of painter and every level of painter gets something out of it. And that's my beginner acrylic course. And we do talk about those terms so they become secondhand. But to desaturate, it means to take the intensity of the color and to take that down into less vibrancy. So, kind of pulling that color and pushing it back. So I keep trying to do it, pushing it back, which again is to remove its vibrancy, and that optical illusion makes it less focal on the canvas. That's a good question. Making me answer it that way makes me think about it again, which is good for me as a teacher, good for you as a student. I like that back and forth. And I like real questions. I don't have a lot of patience for trolls, but I have patience about what's the difference between titanium white and zinc white till I leave this platform. I've been answering that question for 10 years, and I'm going to answer it for 10 more, and I don't mind. Know that about me. All right, let's try it and come up with the next step.
I also know.
If the technique I want to do is the technique I want to do, I will use my 3/4 inch grainer. So this is just like a filbert grainer, but it is a bright where all the little things are tipped out, and I'll show you what I mean.
Oh no, apparently I was muted during that
Oh, were you?
part, even though I wasn't muted. Hopefully I'm able to be heard now.
All right, now I'm going to come here. Am I muted?
You're not muted. I see your sound absolutely
So you
showing
can
up.
see I thin this with water, and this is going to give me these very light parallel lines. That's going to give me a good effect for rain, I believe. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do, I feel, is to load up my brush with glazing medium. And I'm going to grab just a little bit of ultramarine blue. And I'm going to come back and forth at an angle. Let's see if I like this.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll do it. Let's darkening it a bit. So again, just a little bit of ultramarine blue and a lot of glazing medium. This is just the start. I just want that feeling of, and it's not going to stay wet looking. I'm not relying on this to keep it wet looking.
So we have 2 questions.
I have answers.
So are you always using the same brush when you are doing your backgrounds in most of your paintings?
No, but I use it often enough where it was a very good investment. So it's tough to have things be always in art because there's always another way into a painting. And you will find yourself wanting to do that. Now I have glazed that back, and that's desaturated again and deepened it. And I definitely am glad for that. And I want this to, I'm going to just find my angle now. And that is my rain angle. So any streaking on the canvas, right, that will represent your kind of rain angle. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put out fluid white paint. You can thin your white acrylic with water, or you can use this. This is titanium white by Golden Artist Colors, and it's an acrylic, and it's just already very fluid, so I don't have to use as much water to thin it. But it is titanium white, so same. You know what? I'm going to get my fresher bottle because I've got to turn this one over and drain it out. I can tell I'm far over thickened. There it is. Here's my little bottle.
Yeah. We had a question about is there ever confusion because my name is Honey and you ever call Dad Honey? But it's actually interesting because you don't call Dad Honey. You never call Dad Honey. I'm the only honey in the house.
Yeah, Honey is the only honey in the house for sure. Now I've got this here, and I'm going to go ahead and get my rain color in there, which is my ultramarine blue and my burnt sienna. Remember that little gray from earlier? And if I use the fluid medium here, if I use this glazing medium, it'll prevent it from drying. And then I can come through with my white here. And if I've got this right, I'm going to do this low.
Someone had brought up that it might be intimidating to use so many brushes, but what's great about this is that it is in steps, so you can always leave and come back to it whenever you're overwhelmed. I do that a lot with my art.
So I'm having to decide if I like this angle, this pelting rain angle. And if I need to, like, I can always bring a little blue through here to push any rain back. See how it's doing? So if I feel like something came forward too much, in other words, it's too close to me, the viewer, or it's not having the effect I want, by coming back through with the blue, that does help me.
We are on step 3.
Just coming through here, we just want to streak that background. It is hard to streak a background. But I'm just trying to do the angle method. Need more blending medium, I'll get it. And that helps me also if I feel like I got too heavy with a color.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to get a little streak effect across here without crisscrossing lines.
Black Dove is bringing up a point about how they're scared to buy more expensive, nice brushes, and they still want to use their dollar store dupes. What do you recommend in that situation? Because I don't have much experience with brushes.
Your brush investment is protected by your post painting cleaning practice. So what I would do I would want to know that the brushes that I'm purchasing, that are in my like say I purchase a brush from maybe it's more expensive in my budget, then I'm going to want to know that it's going to last a minute. I would, with my dollar store brushes, see how much, just washing them. I know that sounds silly, but it's really true. I'm going to get some more blue in here, but just washing them can really, really help for increasing their lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you can do. So this is a challenging thing here, guys, just getting this. And what I'll say is more challenging is you being accepting of your rain pattern effect, and not judgy of it. If I have one that I'm not happy with, right? So I've got some that I'm like, oh, I don't really love that. Then I just get a little bit of my brown and my green. And see how I can come back and put that back in.
Yeah.
Like I felt like those lines were too close to each other.
Yeah.
A little more yellow in the brown. And see, I just come back through and I just put that through until I'm happy with the effect I'm getting. So that's another thing. So sometimes when you're painting, if an element or technique isn't coming through perhaps in the exact way that you're envisioning it, you'll give up and you'll quit and you maybe throw in the brushes, so to speak, or start another painting or be like frustrated and go away. Whereas I'll find an opportunity and be like, oh no, I'm going to push this back. And by the very act of pushing it back, create an even greater depth.
Barbara would like to know if these lines are going to stay.
So these lines should stay. They are the most distant of the rain lines. They're the most faded of the rain lines. And you can see that I'm breaking up the patterns that I might have made, but still leaving that sense of rain motion. So if you can kind of see that there, maybe Honey can kind of take you on a angle through where you can kind of see where it's coming. It's implied, it's hinted, but you don't want structurally where it holds your eye, right? You don't want where it's making such a ladder pattern, right? So I'm coming right there. And that's me there. There was just too many lines coming in off there next to each other. So that started to create a visual, right, where I touch the brush and might weight in stuff more heavily. And so I'll look at those different things and then be like, oh, hey, and come back. I'm using my my ultramarine blue and my burnt sienna and my just regular titanium white. And you can see that creates this very abstracted homage to rain kind of background. And that's what we're trying to do, is create an homage to our rain. Creating the little streaky lines that would feel like rain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're doing there. Now dry everything. Everything, dry.
Dry.
Honey will talk to you.
I will talk to you.
Honey has a made for magazine face, but also a radio voice.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. I am seeing that my mic is working this time, so that is good. I honestly don't know what happened. I think that my mic was just adjusted in too far of a direction and it wasn't picking up my voice. But it's okay, because I'm here now. This is looking very rainy. Yes, good reminder to use a hairdryer on the cool setting. That will surprise you. Aw, thank you. Oh, I did not know that cool is better on your hair for long term. That is interesting. I should do accents. I don't think I can do silly accents, but I never do a serious accent. Actually, Mom's pretty good at the serious accents. I am actually turning 19 the end of this week. So, that's upcoming.
See if my chalk be here. So now what I'm going to want to do is sort of sketch in my leaf and my bird. I'm going to use my chalk. If you guys can see that, I will stick with it. You want to throw up a new step?
I will throw up a new step.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is either when you use the traceable or when you freehand it in. So this is that step. So if you're using the traceable, you're going to want to use the transfer method that you like best to put those lines on the canvas. If you're going to freehand it with me, this is how I would do that. So the first thing I like to do is give myself a sense of scale in my, that is just not going to be dark enough for you guys. Which means I switch to a round brush. And what I will do is I will.
Thank you for all the happy birthday wishes, everyone.
That birthday is coming up any minute now.
Yeah, I got asked how old I was, and I was like, well, actually, next week.
So now I'm going to come here, and I'm going to just use my blue and white. You guys use chalk if you're doing this. This is a little harder to do because I may have to erase and change my placement. But fairly centered on here is my little bird. So I'm going to give his a little beak here. I got to unpack my chalk. And that's okay. I may want to kind of mist or lighten around him anyway, so I don't mind having a little adjustments.
Tweety bird.
I like to, this little beak is here. And I'm going to come down there, and then our little belly will definitely be out here.
What are you drawing with?
I am using my number 6 Raphael Sepia and a little phthalo blue and white just to sketch it in. But I really, really recommend you guys use chalk or the traceable. Unless you're very confident. And I don't even know I'm confident enough. It's too much out there. So I just try to sketch in sort of the general shape on him, and then I will pull the little tail down here.
Tomorrow is Jane Garrett's birthday.
Happy birthday, Jane! There is a history of this channel of great Janes. True story.
True story.
Just sketch in the little back. I like to just try to capture maybe the tensions and everything that I see in the body, and that's what I'm going to try to do.
I've met so many lovely people of all names in this community.
Yeah, we are pretty blessed with how everything goes here. So I'm going to try to just rinse that out and maybe just get a little blue and white here. I'm going to put his little legs in right now. I'm putting him in because it's easier to match the stem to him than him to the stem. There's a lot less physical kinesthesiology to changing this direction of the branch. Whereas, like, if he needs a change in direction, it's going to be a thing.
A thing.
It's going to be a thing.
Now, it's interesting because the other leg is put up a little bit high. This would be uncomfortable for me as a pose. And it's interesting how you're taking it on because you're just going right in there.
I just go right in there. That's just me. I'm just like, oh, let's just get it in, man. I don't know. We'll work it out later. I'm taking a little bit of my black and brown together. And I am going to place near here. And near here, at least those elements of the stem.
Bree asks,
So I'll bring a little knob out here and pull it back. I think, yeah, that'll work.
Bree says that their golden liquid titanium is too waxy to paint over. Is it bad? It's kind of old.
That is a call the company and tell them, and they will take care of you. I've never heard waxy used to describe golden paint, and there could be a variety of chemical interactions that may have happened inside the tube. So if you go to Golden Artist Colors website, they'll have a contact us. Then it'll be like, is this a materials question? You just take a picture of what it is that you have and describe it, and an actual paint chemist answers your question. It's extraordinary.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's they are amazing. It's as I've gotten to know them, I'm going to bring this little stem up here, maybe a little bit kind of angled here. As I got to know them, I've just become a bigger and bigger fan, because I used to think that they were only about fine artists like Chihuly, Ira Scott, artists that do that type of serious work. But as I got to know them, they're an employee-owned company. Most of those employees are themselves artists or fan of the arts on a next level. And their whole thing is just about creating materials that work well for people. There we go. So I'm just trying to make that little stem work with the positioning of my little bird here. I'm using Mars Black and Brown. I'll just sort of brush that back. And again, I've got some weird sketching to do around there, so I'm not particularly kind of put that leaf over there.
Irene asks, I feel like my paints dry too fast, especially setting them out. How do I keep them moist while painting, or do I buy that paint paper? And what brush cleaner do you recommend?
So it's actually the whole system is the wet palette system, and it does really help keep your paint wet. Then having a mister of water here keeps that surface from skinning, and that's just water in a mister bottle. Then having glazing liquid by Golden helps it slow down and drying time on the palette, and then on here. And then if you're in, like, say, Arizona, so you're dealing with radically dry weather, put a small humidifier next to your wet palette. Oh, I got the tricks.
I know you got the tricks.
I got the tricks. I'm going to grab a little red here so we can all see it. I'm going to hick that back up there. All right. There we go. And then... and that one bends back that way. So I'm just giving myself enough info to know where my leaf is going to be. Maybe you're sketching yours in, but you might also just be using the traceable. You still want to kind of put in those lines enough where you feel like you're happy with their placement and you can find them again if you needed them. Gonna come here and just kind of bend that down.
Yes, once the live is finished, you will be able to post permanent comments. Unless you, of course, delete them. They're not like permanent.
Yeah, it's as permanent as any comment on YouTube is.
Yeah, it's permanent as in the internet is permanent.
Yeah, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
do you keep up the live chat during the live? After the live?
It's set to that, but it has not been showing lately. I don't know why. It's also taking it forever to process. closed captioning post live. So I have captions always enabled. This is the whole step. I have captions enabled every live, and they can take anywhere from 10 minutes immediately to a day after the video to post. So they're there. If you don't see them, always comment, and I will check back. And then if you see them on old videos not showing, like, let me know if you don't see captions. Just if it's right after the video aired, that may be all it is. But if it's like a day or two later, something's broken. And also, right, YouTube, that's a feature they provide. It's not one I can only enable it, but they provide the service. So you got to let them know too if it's not working.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. So good to see everyone in the chat and everyone interacting with each other and asking questions and being engaged. It's absolutely lovely, and we're going to step that.
Step it, step it, step it, step. I'm going to use a D brush and a round brush. So I'm going to use the number 0 Raphael Textura, and I'm going to use my number 6 Raphael Sepia to paint my stem. Take a little bit of my green over here to my yellow.
Do you have...
Green and yellow. And you stepped it, honey?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Do you have any drawing lessons posted anywhere?
I have a few. And then the patrons have some drawing. They had like a drawing class I did for them a while back. That was my phthalo green, my cad yellow medium, and my cad yellow medium and my cad red into an orange, and I mixed it all kind of together, so I get this sort of like green orange, which I really, really like. And I think it's important for fall colors. So you were so excited about the drawing classes. What brought excitement to you, honey? Is it because you did drawing?
No,
on your class?
I was just asking a question, and I'm just excited to
I have
be here.
I have a few drawing classes on the YouTube channel. Most of the drawing classes were in the patron group, and I will have more, especially as we get into kids lessons for kids. We'll get more going. So I like to take, I'm going to get my little green and a little burnt sienna too.
Lovely.
And I mix those in there and get kind of a yellow green. It's a green gold and I like it. Another way to get there is cad yellow and ultramarine blue. I'm going to put my glasses on. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use my background color and kind of smidge. Not sure I want that right there. A little bit of my ultramarine blue and burnt sienna and titanium white.
I don't think it's ever bad to do kids' paintings or drawing lessons. I think that it's just lovely, and you should do whatever makes you just happy.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do more work to design for kids than grown-ups. So, like, I would definitely say that, it is not a bad lesson to try kids' artwork because they have to teach certain fundamentals on a basic level, and those are core skills. I've taken a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red. I might grab a bit of my magenta into it, and I'm going to come here, and I'm going to start to paint elements of my little leaf here. I'm going to exaggerate these fall colors. That's happening for sure. I like to kind of spot up, and I'm using the back side of my D brush. I like to use the back side because it's a blending side. Come down here. And just rough and blending it through at this stage. and come in and get into my green gold. Kind of weave in some of that color at this stage too. Maybe a little bit more of my quinacridone and burnt sienna up here. A little bit of that there. Maybe a little brown and green. Again, we just got to get certain kind of color up, and then as we go over here into my yellow and green, then we start adding details in. So trying to have it be a little lighter over on that lip.
It's looking very leafy.
It's looking like a leaf, and I'm going to add a little bit of yellow into my brush. I haven't rinsed it out, so that kind of will gray all those colors. Sometimes when I'm trying to make sure that everything feels connected, that is a good way to do that. And just kind of roughing in those colors, right? A little bit of yellow there. Just pulling all those in. Maybe a little orange in that yellow mix. Again, we can exaggerate elements of fall on our leaf and use the pictorial reference just to know things about structure. And you can see I'm just roughly painting this out. Just getting a rough sense of it out, right? Okay, now let's call that a step and we'll do the next part here.
We're going to step.
We're going to step, step, step it. I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red and my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to get some purple on there. Very burgundy. And I'll add a little Cad Red into it. I'm going to just roll that. And we're going to add some veining to this. Just vein up your leaf.
Thank you so much, Deborah Evans. Yes, I can totally get a closer view.
So we're just adding little veins to our leaf because that's a fun element of what we have for sure, but also it gives us these wonderful opportunities to create more texture and more design, even in the fantastical. We have some very chill paintings coming up too. So some of you guys were like, could we have some One Hoots again? You can have some One Hoots again real soon. I've got some designed up. Now I'm kind of just outlining there with that purple. A little bit of cad red and quinacridone magenta. Just adding that to the baseline, just kind of glowing that up. I don't know that that is improving anything there, so I may just take that out because it did nothing for me. So I just added some green to that. I'm just painting that in. Sometimes if I have to kind of paint something out, I just put the background color back. There's two ways to get something in. You can paint it in and then you can paint it out, and that's just paint it in or paint it out. Either is fine with me. Now let's go some cad red, cad yellow. I'm going to bring some of that bright color sort of down. A little bit into the magenta. Just a lot of fun colors to add to our little stem, isn't it?
Very leafy.
Black and brown again, almost black. And we're going to want to strengthen some of that line. It's too much. Try again. Now I'm going to take my round blender and put it aside for a second. I think I need to dry everything. I'm going to create a bit of a halo.
Dry. Dry, dry, dry. Dry, 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 dry. And we're going to be hanging out. I really like this so far. I like this leaf. I love the way that it's coming together. When we step this.
Yeah, let's step it. Now I'm going to
Step
grab
it.
a little bit of my glazing medium. I've got my number 12 round blender, and I'm back into my background blue, which was ultramarine, titanium white, and burnt sienna. Just make sure that it's nice and light where it needs to be nice and light, right?
Just blends in right to the background.
Yeah, so I want to come here and I want to halo around my bird a little bit. Not too much. I've got glazing medium in here. I've got ultramarine blue. I've got burnt sienna and titanium white, and I'm just kind of coming around and haloing it.
Now, this is just a personal question from me as an artist to you.
Okay.
How do you keep track of the colors and making sure that they all stay the same and you're not putting a different color on top of? Because for me, I can color pick, but
yes, that's interesting. That was because your grandma raised me.
oh,
What it is that I have a lot of skills now at this point. I'm just adding some more kind of blue out here just to improve the moodiness and also the value around things. And now that I know where this is, I can kind of do that in a very specific way. So I know where everything is on my palette, right? I know what will happen if green comes underneath blue. So if it's transparent, I know some of that green will show through. And I have a pretty adept skill set at coming back and matching that same color again and again.
I've seen you. You are a very good color matcher. You are like.
But does that feel like here? But this is what's interesting to me. I'm adding a little more white into that blue and a little more brown. Is that what, like when you're painting? I guess my question then is, I'm going to come in and bring this right up to that as well. Do you find it's sometimes tough to get to the color again?
Yeah, when I get into physical art, especially when it's like loose, like paints, it can be a little difficult color matching.
Then you know what I ought to do is I ought to create a, I'm going to get some more glazing medium here and kind of blend that out so it's not too obvious here. I ought to do like an exercise that people can do to have a better job, you know, matching colors.
Yes, I think would be lovely as a lesson just on color matching in general.
So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm adding new bokeh in that looks like it's part of the environment that I already had. And that is letting me lighten a little bit around Mr. Cutie Pie here.
His name is Mr. Cutie Pie.
Well, they're all Mr. Cutie Pie.
Cutie Pie.
Round blender, glazing medium, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, titanium white. If I have to, if I'm worried at all, if I get zinc white involved, then it will also be super transparent just on its own. I'm kind of upping the mist and effect off of him.
I see that sometimes you get your finger in there and kind of
I do. Like when I'm like, smudge it, smudgy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very smudgy. So this is me also just making sure that this sort of light through dappling it is focused here, but it's also sometimes what I'm trying to do is hide a pattern.
Now, is it like your most recommended way of smudging?
It is not my most recommended way of smudging.
Really? What's your most recommended way of smudging?
Use a tool, because that's what's the
type of
safest.
tool?
Probably I would, if I was to recommend it, I'd say wear rubber gloves. Fingers are great because you can really feel them and they're squishy and they're interesting. You could probably use a sponge blender like you do for makeup, but I would the recommendation. So sometimes there's things I do, but I wouldn't recommend to students because I don't know if you have an allergy to paint or not.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, you're very familiar with that. You have been raised by do as I say parent, not as I do. In fact, often as it's going wrong, I'm like, this, don't repeat it. See, learn from my suffering. Learn from my suffering.
Welcome,
Trust.
Lottie. First time catching you on live.
Thank you. All
We have
right.
a lot of first lives today.
So I've been kind of doing bigger projects slower lately, and that's just to let you guys take on some of you guys to come in and try some new stuff, maybe stretch up, kind of stretch the skills and everything. You can see that this then again layers that rain into the background. I like it. It's looking pretty good. Just have to make sure that my light peeking through feels like what my light peeking through would feel like. So I'm bringing patterns up through here. You can see that that's, really what we're doing. I love it. All right, let's call that a step.
Call that a step.
Call it a step, step, step.
Step, step, step.
Where is my... There you are. You're so great. Okay.
What is it that you just grabbed?
So I grabbed a number 1 detail round Princeton from the Princeton Select line, and I am loading up black paint that is slightly thinned with water on the tip of my brush here.
Do you have any advice or tips for painters who give up easily?
So it depends on why you're giving up. I'm just very carefully piecing in each of the little knuckles that are here to the little birdies, and then a little bit of a claw. Interestingly enough, another little claw comes back that way.
I think a big important step for me as an artist was learning to love what I create.
I think that's a good one.
And creating what you love.
And the next one is to set the goal, change goals. If you're not finishing paintings, chances are you're not having the experience in the painting that, is sustainable. And I'm just, again, my black as I'm painting these little tiny, tiny feet. So one of the things that you can do as a painter, if you find you're not completing, is, I gave this tip the other day, is I will go ahead and finish some element of the painting all the way to completion, like the eyes or the nose, so that I don't feel lost in the painting during its ugly stage, because acrylic paintings often have an ugly stage, and that ugly stage, people give up.
Oh my gosh. It's trusting the process.
Mm-hmm.
You have to trust the process, and that is a hard thing to do as an artist, because you sit there and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, like, do I even know how to paint? Why do I have a YouTube channel?
Why did I spend all these years doing this, and then you finish the painting and you're like, oh, that's why.
My kids do not love how it's like painting by painting. I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. It's just, they're like, that is just more than we can cope with. So I just like to get the shape of my legs in, because bird legs are, well, they are the challenge that they are. And I'm going to go ahead and at this stage probably put in what is my bird beak.
Lottie says that specifically they're having trouble finishing after the background.
Then, yeah, so here's what. Something is frustrating you or interrupting your creative flow. And you've got to figure out, is it thoughts in your head? Is it environmental, the way you've set up your painting area, the way that you're setting yourself up to create? So trying to find what it is that's pulling you out of your zone, because it's just painting is just painting. So whether you're painting a background or you're painting the bird, it's all the same thing. It's just the layers that you're on.
The layers.
But the bird is the payoff, right? So like, you may need to, like, as you get your sketching, like, get a great eye or get something else in the painting that's good, where you're like, I have to finish because it's so awesome. And I want everyone to see how awesome I am. Okay, let's call that a step.
A step.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone really appreciated the advice.
Well, I hope so. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow over to my green and mix in a lot of my burnt sienna, making kind of a great green gold. And I'm going to come here and painting a little bit around my veining. And start to paint some more leaf in, make the leaf even better.
What do you do if you feel afraid to ruin the hard work of a background?
That is a hard thing to overcome. I just took cad red and cad yellow.
I agree with that one.
That's a hard one to overcome. Because the truth is sometimes we do paint over our good work, and it's tough. Different strategies can help different artists. I'm adding a little more yellow into this, into that red and yellow. One strategy that works for some artists is taking pictures as you go, so you at least have the record that you had that moment where you're like, I was the most awesome right here.
That's a really good idea.
Right? And then at least it isn't gone. You don't have, like, I can only go for me, like, sometimes, like, what's upsetting is, like,
is that it's gone and that you don't have proof that it's there.
That it ever happened, or you don't know what you did or how to do it again. Take pictures of, I take pictures of my work in progress for you guys, but guess what? You can take work in progress pictures too. And then you can start to see, like, oh, you know what? When I go to this stage of the painting, I often paint out things that I later wish I had kept. But you won't know it till you start taking pictures of it. I'm adding little spots of this orange and yellow places.
I think it also helps you put in perspective, like how good you are, because for me, seeing the work in progress versus the finished piece really makes me go, wow, I finished it.
Yeah, it's a true story. I want to kind of splatter or create a splatter effect on the leaf, but I would have had to have done it earlier so I could clean it out. So I'm going to use my Deerfoot stippler. And I'm going to come get this a little bit wet, wipe it off on a towel, work it into some glazing medium, and come over to my purple and make it
real quick, or are we gonna?
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be a new step, but I want this all to break up. So you want a brush that will break up. I'm going to stamp it around so that the little spots that I have, and you can even tap those in if you know you're safe with the paint. So now we're tapping those in to give that some texture. At least then I can control where it is on my leaf. Sometimes I tap back with my finger just to diffuse it. This is a trick I learned from makeup artists doing freckles. Watch makeup artists. They have lots of good tips.
They do?
Yeah, actually for painting, yeah. Really? Sometimes the strategy that gets them through that impossible challenge that is skin. Skin as a surface is the hardest. Can't think of a harder surface to paint or work on. So sometimes I watch to see, especially the trick makeup artists, to see what their little deal is. All right, so once we have some of that on.
It's looking very leafy, like those leaves came to life.
Right, it does. It comes in, and then we're going to do this weird thing. We're going to come in with a little bit of our fluid paint into our gray, which was our ultramarine blue and our burnt sienna. And we are going to put a little hole there, a hole here.
Caterpillars had some snacks.
Snacks! Sorry, I got
snacks.
snacks! Caterpillar snacks!
The bird ate the caterpillar.
Hey, the bird probably would have ate the caterpillar for sure.
But that's okay.
Putting these in. A little bit of my ultramarine and blue, and then and quinacridone, and then I come back with a little cad red. It just kind of pulls it in, and then you just kind of make little spots.
What is your most favorite size of canvas to use?
4860. I never use it anymore.
Oh.
But it is my favorite. So I'm adding the dark spots. I like working big. I used to feel like it just wasn't art till it was big. You know, I always felt like when I was really making something that was, you know, like you couldn't look away from.
Yeah. I like working small.
I know you do. You're just the opposite of everything of me. It's just fantastic. I love that you found your own way to do your own thing. I'm just adding dark spots because this leaf has lots of personality, right? I'm going around every little, that's kind of like a little burning or munch line. Somebody, like, as Honey pointed out, is nibbling.
Is nibbling. Moderator Rainbow brought up the official preferred size, which is 8x8, and today's is a 12x12.
That is the official preferred size. So on the channel, 16 by 20, 11 by 14, 12 by 12, 8 by 8, 8 by 10, 9 by 12 is generally what you've seen on here. And so now we've got some little holes in there, and you can come in with like your green gold and stuff and break up some of that.
Now we have a question for you. What was your first inspiration to start your painting journey?
I was born into it. So I can tell you when I decided to be an artist, that's when my mom made prints of some artwork I had done when I was tiny. And it was really hard to make prints, and my mom wrote all her letters on it while we were in church, while we were in the Kingdom Hall. So that is why I eventually decided that I wanted to become that as a person. I'm going to take a little bit of my magenta and my cad red into this orange over here. I'm going to get some of my zinc on here. Make sure I'm not having any just painting in a little bit of a brighter pink. A little zinc. And what you'll find when you use a little zinc is that it doesn't change the hues so much. Just come back in with a little of this color. I like to blush the color a little bit. I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow here and grab some of that green that I had over there. So see how it kind of makes it just a little bit greenish? What do you think of that?
I like it. I like it.
Now, like in our house, like we do show each other's artwork. It's like a big thing.
It is.
So This is not unusual for us to be talking about this stuff. I'm into my zinc white.
Sometimes I even ask for Mom's paintings.
That's true. You took the bee.
I like the bee.
The upcoming bee. I'm just making sure I've got some light coming through. I'm using my D brush, my number 0 D brush, because I can blend and put out an edge with it.
He's a silly bee. This is a not so silly bird, but a cute bird.
A cute bird. The chickens I'm working on right now are hysterically funny. They're
How serious
halfway
are they?
painted. Huh?
How serious are they?
They're over there. How serious do they look to you? They're all screaming they're all having their chicken choir.
Chicken choir!
It's so like from the Far Side. That particular one reminds me of the Far Side so much. So I'm just adding a little bit of light to the edge and the top of that leaf, right? That is got my zinc and my green gold here. You can see that I can edge things and then come through and now we're getting a fairly complex leaf going on before we've ever put a water drop on it. And that I know this can feel overwhelming. So I think what happens to people is that paintings take, now I can do a pretty serious painting as we have done live on this channel, you know, in short order. But it takes time to get that speed going, and I never like to encourage the idea of speed as being a goal in art.
It's so misleading when they call it a speed paint.
Yeah, I hate for you guys to get it into your head that somehow also as part of a component of being a good artist is how quickly you paint. That is just not the case in any way. I'm almost done with this leaf. I'm going to take my green gold and my fluid color.
Everyone's talking about artists that inspired them to start painting. You inspired me.
Aw. Me?
Yeah, you're my favorite artist.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't think it's true.
It is true. It is true. You are my favorite artist.
So I'm going to edge some of this. Kind of see how that also gives it some definition in the painting, right? Just pulling a little bit of that line on there really does help it.
Such a realistic leafy twig.
Certainly is a considered and painted twig. It has been thought about. Just come here and run my edge along there, and we haven't even gotten the bird in, and the bird's the whole best part, right?
Saving the best for last.
Kind of. But I like to put this in. It helps me make decisions about lots of other elements of this. Hey, John?
Yeah.
Could I have a 7-Up?
Yes.
Thank you.
You need anything else?
I would have my coffee heated if it were possible.
Coffee and
Oh, goodness. All right, so now we've got that lovely little leaf going, and it's looking terrific.
Thank you so much, Angela Maxwell.
Angela Maxwell, how are you doing?
Do you prefer stretched canvas or canvas boards? And
Stretch
why?
canvas. I like the drum, and that's true until you get into ampersands, and then I switch back over to ampersands. So it's one of those funny things. I'm going to take a little bit more of my magenta, maybe a little macadam red into there, and my glazing medium. Come under the fold of that. So I really, really, really like stretch canvas. I enjoy the bounce and energy that it gives me, and I like the weave, and I play often with the weave of the canvas.
What is easier to learn, acrylic paint or watercolor?
I think watercolor. Though I have to say I'm probably a much better acrylic artist now. I'm just adding a little bit of a glaze of a shadow, and you can see that starts to push everything back, doesn't it?
I think acrylic's easier.
Do you?
Yeah, it's something about how easy it is to just go over a mistake, whereas with watercolor it layers and then the paper gets wet and then it's a whole thing.
So a whole thing, adding a little more blue here. See if I can't
Not cold.
exaggerate. I know. Oh, that's okay. It doesn't need to be cold. Those little shadows there. Come right here under that.
Do you ever make your own canvas?
I can stretch canvases.
I didn't know you could do that.
Oh yeah, actually,
Will or
will stretch a canvas. I don't even. Where does this studio assistant? My mom's studio. Of course, I stretch a canvas. So my mom helped me make a college course once.
hard, long time consuming.
It is hard. It is consuming. It is a good skill. The cost of regular size canvases is low enough that I don't know that it's a necessary skill for most artists. But if you're doing extra large canvases where it's challenging to maybe find your canvas for sale, or it's $600, because like at that point on a really large canvas, it's $100 to build it, and it might be $1,200 to buy it. So it gets to be a thing.
Especially like if you work big.
Sorry for swallowing in y'all's ear. Okay. I'm thinking that looks pretty good. And that's about the level we're going to take everything to. Let's give this a good dry. So we dragnet, so we don't smear anything that we worked hard on. Though the nice thing about being on a rainy painting like this is streaks actually become part. Like if I painted the whole bird and went streak, it would just be like, oh, she meant that 'cause rain.
It is going good. I see that lots of people in the chat are agreeing with me on my acrylic point. I think that I'm right on that, but I also think that everyone can have their own experience with art, and it is absolutely completely reasonable. If you prefer watercolor, it comes to you easier than acrylic. We're going to unmute, and then we're going to step.
I love you. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay?
Good, yeah.
Yeah, this is lovely. I'm having a lovely day with honey.
Oh, good.
Yay!
Oh, I have got to. That's a stick. What happened to that?
Ooh.
Oh, honey.
Yeah?
It has glitter glow paint on it.
Oh. I don't think I washed my brushes after I used them.
You know what? That's going to be the stick. Is going to be how to save a brush that got paint left on it till it's totally dried. Video. I will put that right there. I'm going to use a different brush.
Sorry, I know. I should know better than that. I was raised better than that.
It is unnerving to do a class, and it's very easy to lose yourself in that. That really is. All right. I'm going to use a round brush. That's kind of a chunkier, bigger round brush. So this is a number 10 Raphael Textura, and this is a number 6 Raphael Sepia. And I want you to notice how different in every way those brushes are. Same brush maker, but between the Textura and the Sepia Essential lines, the shape of the brush, the belly of the brush, the toe of the brush, the sizing of the brushes are not related. And that's what makes it hard to buy brushes. But this is the one I've been doing. It's like a nice mid-size. I want something that'll let me paint a little heavier and put out a little more paint than this one will. I'm going to take a little bit of my titanium white over to my gray, which was my ultramarine blue and my burnt sienna. I'm going to let it be a little more burnt sienna, and I'll get some glazing medium on there so it doesn't dry on me. And I'm going to start to paint. This is the belly, and I may have to take that blue away, and I will take that blue away in a second.
That's cute.
Oh, the belly?
The belly.
You like a bit? If you got to tickle the bellies, if you tickle the bellies, then they giggle on your canvas.
Is that true?
Yes.
They giggle?
God, I love you. You cannot believe how long we kept Santa and the Tooth Fairy going with this one. All right. So now I'm going to add a little more blue and get my background color back because I don't want that outlining there. Just making sure it just kind of goes away. I just want a different line along the belly. This is a way I would erase something I thought up and actually just end up with a more atmospheric piece. So it's not a bad problem.
Now I'm all thinking, like, are birds ticklish?
Birds are very ticklish.
They are?
Of course they're ticklish.
That's
I don't know.
awesome.
We've had birds, but I love birds. I love birds, so.
Well, I figured you would know because you've had birds.
Yeah, I like a bird.
Birds are awesome.
Bird is the word.
Bird is the word. I said a bird.
So I'm going to really just try to trim him out at this stage, which is just refine. You guys have the traceable off of the image, but on the repaint, a lot of times I will have to refine elements of him.
Because he's a refined bird.
So I'm just shearing the head and giving that more of a look that you might expect. And I'm using the smoke and that sort of background effect to blend him back in. And that's another reason why bokeh backgrounds can be kind of nice. Is that you're like, oh, I think I need this to be a little more smudged. And then you can absolutely come back in, change, smudge. And then I just put back using my round blender little elements of this through here. And you wouldn't even know anything had changed. It's that forgiving. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and my ultramarine blue.
Ooh.
My black. I'm going to come down here.
Hello, Ian.
Is that Ian Garland?
Off-kilter crafter Ian, so.
I'm winning like every quilting award out there, like Super Quilter. My quilting channel's blowing up. Ian?
Yes.
Ian, who just went to Disney and who's been making like tons and tons of quilts.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, he says, hello, Cinnamon, stopping by my lunch break and checking out your progress. Honey is doing so good to hear your voice. Hope you're doing well.
We are. We're holding on, buddy. I hope you're doing well. I'm coming here to the front. I'm going to kind of just paint in that line of that head initially. Try to come back and capture that back of the head that we have to the wing. I love Ian. I hope Ian will someday come back and do Thanksgiving with us again.
That would be awesome. We have a place finally now.
Yes, it's the smallest place in the world, but it is a place.
It's a place.
I'm going to kind of block in the blue where I think I'm going to have that on the wing. That's pretty good.
It's a lovely place. I love it.
And then I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow. Now here's a little trick. If I take my purple and mix my yellow together, that's how I can get a desaturated yellow. You'll notice I'm just blocking in general color.
Ian says that he loves you too, and he would love to come for Thanksgiving again.
I'd love that. I will give you a ring, buddy. I would love to see you. I miss you. I know you're super busy, though. I see your fabulosity on your channel, and I think you're doing wonderful. And I see you on Facebook. Adding a little bit of that back in there. Again, the purple just grazed the yellow, and so that's what we're using it for.
Ooh.
I think I'm actually going to bring this down through here and put the white back. Just be easier to pull it in. I'm flicking out here so that I can have some little yellow feathers coming out. I'm going to get a little bit of black. With birds, I like to just kind of rough them in and then come back with a little bit of stripe. And I know my line is, my eye is going to be in that little stripe.
I have to tell you, Ian, it's not luck. You're just talented at quilting. If I
Yeah.
can say the word quilting.
Can you say the word quilting?
Not fast, apparently.
I'm going to add that little black spot that's sort of in the wing there, and I'm going to make sure that these guys right here have kind of like their little tuck in.
This burb is going to be so floofy, says Lulabelle.
Yeah, it just, you know, we've just got to get him in, and then once he's in, then we're good.
Do all the fun parts. Just details. That's the fun part, in my opinion.
Well, details are pretty fun. And I'm going to come back here, and you can kind of see that I've now sort of blocked that in. And then at this stage is when I kind of come in and maybe be like, oh, couldn't you be a little fatter? I think you should be a little fatter.
Well, yeah, because he just ate a caterpillar.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of fatten him up there. And I know I need layers of paint on here, so dry it.
Dry it. Dry. Yes. I just love this painting so much. I'm not talking because I'm just sitting here and looking at it and how good it is and how it's just coming together. Do you want to step here?
Yeah, let's step here.
Step.
Steppy step, 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 step. Steppy step, step, step.
Step.
Steppy step, step, step. I'm back to my number 0 D brush. Number 0. I'm going to come right here. I'm going to add maybe a little of that yellow. No, I want it to cool it down. But
do you ever plan on doing another bird hop?
I do. My mom's got to be home for a second. She has been very busy. But when she's home, we're planning on doing some stuff together.
Awesome.
Because we both really like to paint birds.
Hopefully there will be no eating of paint.
Huh?
I said hopefully there will be no eating of paint.
Not around John. He won't let Mom eat any paint. It's just like, and now the new John won't either, so now we're not alone. All right,
Two Johns trying to stop her from eating paint.
The 2 Johns is correct. All right, so we're doing very good there. Now I am going to mix up a bunch of my purple, which is my ultramarine blue and my quinacridone magenta. And purple is absolutely going to be my shading for my yellow. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to make this dark gray yellow color. Maybe a little bit of that right here, kind of coming up the mid-bird.
The mid-bird.
Mid-bird and his little belly.
He's so cute.
We'll grab a little bit of that. And then maybe a little more yellow into that, and you can see that that brightens it up quite a bit. Just bringing that back. Little short strokes on the flat side of the brush. Come up around that neck. Definitely want to come up into here. Short little brush strokes. So it's not my brightest yellow. It looks quite bright, but it is not the brightest yellow. And then a brighter yellow. I am using the flat side and short brush strokes, and that's helping me have little kind of feather-like effects. See how that's very feathery? Short, layering, bricked in little. And get into my brown over here, and you can see that that again is just slightly darker. Blending in through here. Just making sure that the side there and kind of a little brown. Short strokes. Now I've got the flat side facing up, and I'm using the blending side is giving me even more little bit of an off-white, which is my burnt sienna and my ultramarine blue.
Lynn says your pigments are amazing. What's your key to that?
My what?
Your trick to getting your pigments amazing.
If we mean my color, or my palette management, that would be my follow-up question. Do we mean my color, my palette management? Do you mean the brand of paint does an incredible job of producing this particular paint?
What is the brand?
It is Sennelier. It is 250 years old. One of the older paint companies out there, and it absolutely does do a great job.
That's some old paint.
And some old paint. All right, I got to move my kind of yellow forward. Get a little bit of black here. That's too much black. When I get too much of something, I can remove it. I can paint it away. So I can come back in with a damp brush and kind of go. No, there wasn't any way to make that really work for me. And I think that's why Honey likes it so much.
Yes.
I'm going to take my yellow over to my purple.
Well, also, worst comes to worst, you could put yellow back over it once you dry it.
Exactly. Get a little blue on that. Paint a little bit of that down the belly, and we are still going. Now, gray, again, is the burnt sienna and the ultramarine blue. And I like that as the basis for my whites. So I can even come here and just make sure that I've got enough of that. I'm using the brush. Rounded end is giving me those little pinpoint feathers. That's how that's happening. That's where that's coming from. And then a little bit back there.
Everyone is just in shock about how good this painting looks.
Really?
Not even in shock, I would say. I would say they're in awe because they know how amazing you are. They're not shocked.
Oh, like you. You're fun to have around, kiddo. I better watch out. Grandma Ginger's going to steal you. Okay.
Anime.
So I'm going to get a little bit of my round brush going again. I'm going to grab some of my green and yellow and brown, which if you'll remember is kind of the background color. Just going to come through here and make sure that there's some kind of modeling on the background as well. So sometimes on a painting you'll do like specific stuff like through here where you're like, oh, I really, really, really want it to be as diffused as possible. And so I can come back in and then also break up some of these spots with my round blender. So that's a little more pieced in and a little more broken and done out. And then you can even bring some from behind the bird coming out. Since I haven't painted the wing yet, and it's bringing the objects from behind and then through another thing so it feels like it's got continuity is what you're really hoping for. So that's why it's sometimes good to spend some time with your painting and look for shapes. Think about the negative spaces that are present, right? Let's give us a step. Step. And then we're going to do that part I talked about. We're going to paint some feet and a beak and all that nonsense. So let's come here and get our gray. Don't mind if a little black gets in it because it's beak time. I'm going to get the top of that beak. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come right here. And I'm going to make a white circle. Now I'm doing that so I can thin the line by painting the outside and the inside. And that's how I'm going to get the hair fine line that I need for having bird's eyes. Let's come in and get a little bit of the black.
If you're upgrading to new paints, I wouldn't recommend personally throwing away the old ones. You could put them to the side, store them somewhere.
Yeah, and sometimes it's nice to have like less expensive paint
for less expensive paint purposes.
Yeah.
I imagine them not being as opaque could help you maybe do a wash over something.
Yeah, well, or glaze. Or glaze.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Yeah, no, it is nice. And like sometimes like if you have to paint a whole background one color, then they can be very, very useful. And what you're going to notice is I can get this just hair fine line by painting it this way. It's super doopity duper frustrating, but it just is what works for me, so it's what I use.
That bird just came to life.
Like in the eye?
In the eye. It's looking at me.
Yeah, now I can bring in some like darker. And a little, so it's like 3 levels of dark and light is really what it takes. And then just trying to make sure we're all there. This is my least favorite part of the whole thing. And that's just because it just requires such a steady hand, and that's not necessarily my strongest suit. The steady hand suit.
Really? I've been thinking that your steady hand has gotten really good as of late. Like, I think you did really good with the edges of the leaves and everything.
You're really being quite kind today. I like you today. All right.
I'm being honest.
Just trying to. And the trick is I have to, keep it from being where you can't come up the center. And then I could come back with some black. And kind of tap it so there's like sort of this roughness to their little feet. And that's a little camouflaged. So I took my glazing medium and my black. Just come back with the black and kind of define those little shapes. Because I just really, really want to be able to see those. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and white together.
Wow.
Just a little bit of bird there.
Just a little bird.
He just needs a little bit of his birdness. It's just sitting there trying not to be rained on. Let's call it new steps.
New steps.
New steps. Same debrush. To brush, to brush, to brush. Okay, now I'm going to take just a little bit of my titanium white.
Quick question to you. How many steps do you think we have left?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Don't know. I never know. John asks me that question all the time too, and I'm always like, I don't know.
More than 2?
Yes.
Okay. Then I have to be right back.
Okay. So I'm just putting a little bit of white on that outside edge there. Having a little bit of that there. And then I'm going to put a little more white into my, for the belly. And I'll come back and get that black marking in.
All right, we are
Just
all
a
good.
little bit of short flicking brush strokes.
To make that belly.
And then kind of lightly over that. We want to know that they're there, but we don't need to know everything about them being there. Blue and black. And I'm going to want to bring a little bit of that here, and then maybe another little ridge and another little ridge.
Are you using water on the brush right now?
I'm just using water on the brush, and I've got blue and black. Come here, kind of pull that down. Okay, and you got that there. Rinse out. A little bit of cad yellow and cad red. Few little spots of brighter. This is the cad yellow and cad red.
Ooh.
We don't want to take away all of our shadows that we've worked very hard to do. I'm going to come back up to my purple and yellow for the brighter little yellow fluff that's here. I'll curl that back. Just a little bit of white.
It's so interesting because I was literally thinking I would have been done with the bird so long ago, and it's so interesting how you just you can keep going at it, and well, because I don't know what to do next. I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I don't really know how to add on to this.
So I'm continuing on with my D. I'm loading to the flat side of it because it's giving me that nice little feather.
I just keep thinking, wow, this is amazing, and then you do something else, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Flicking out. Flick, 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 flick. I'm a little lighter with the white coming back on the face than
You just went flick flick and then said I'm a little lighter. That's funny.
just adding a little more white right here, just to the front of the little cheek. So a little bit. He's looking pretty good. A little bit of the blue black on the edge of this brush, just touching the tip. All I can tell you on birding is that when I paint a bird and I generalize it, I hear from bird people going, those markings are like that. So, I honestly don't think like it's the only thing in birds that matter, but I do want to say that I feel like a lot of people feel like it matters. So I'm going to smudge it and kind of
It matters if you're trying to make a accurate bird to reality.
Yeah, if you have a strong feeling about the bird. All right.
It doesn't matter in any other terms.
Yeah, I'm going to come here and grab a little bit of brown and ultramarine blue.
Just keeps looking more and more like the reference.
Well, a reference should be something that you use for information about, like, oh, you know, where is the light source? You definitely want to, you know, have a reference that lets you know those things. But past that, then there should be something of you that goes into the painting, even if you're being very focused on the reference.
Have you ever painted a parrot?
Yes, I have painted parrots. Painted parrots. I like parrots quite a lot. That's doing pretty good. That there. I'm going to come in and get maybe like a little more. Into here. I'll grab a little of my blue. Kind of come up that back edge. Maybe a little bit at the tail bottom.
Yeah. Get those tail feathers.
Sometimes it's just nice to be able to see them. Little bit of a shadow there. Now I'm going to come here, even though I'm doing yellow in a minute, I think I just need that shadow for the yellow to pop over it and look more like tendrils.
Yes, yes. If you're looking for bird paintings, you have
Found the place.
Quite the
There's a
collection of
playlist. And there's a lot of bird in the playlist. Not a shoe bill as of yet, but the shoe bill, I have a reference and I have a plan. Now I'm going to come here and I'm going to add this little white, and I'm doing this in short little markings, guys. Short little markings.
I can answer this question.
Oh, well, then you should, if
Which
you can.
paint brand is 250 years old? Sinlier.
Yeah, it is. Same company, same family. This brush company is the same deal. The paper I paint with is 800 years old. Like, these are heritage companies. So the white doesn't stay white, guys. That's not how it's going to stay. That's not where it's going to be. But to get the bright, glowing, luminous yellow that's going to come at us, I'm going to need it to be there for a little bit. And we're going to come off here and flick off a little bit off the front of him. Okay, it's looking very good. Then back into my gray. Back into my gray. Gray. Sorry, I don't want to start no arrows, nothing. And also cannot sing. Though it has occurred to me, apparently it's been a huge mistake of mine not to teach everyone how to paint Taylor Swift, because she controls the economy, and I did not even know that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was like, why is this person doing a concert tour in a theater? And then I saw it and I was like, oh, that's why. So many people want to come and dance to her music and don't want to spend $10,000 on a ticket. So that's why. But I was like, I should be painting Taylor Swift. Donna just freaked out like, wait, is that an option? It is. So I'm taking a lighter, it's not fully white, and I'm just touching so lightly. And you're going to just see how these like leave little feather marks. See how that just creates that perfect little feathering? Right? Let's like right in there. See that perfect little feathering? That is the brush. Let me kind of show you how that mark works. So I'll get some black on here. Okay. So I'm going to come here and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. On the edge of this, I can get these kind of lines like that. If I go like that, it's a kind of thicker, heavier, and then finishes at the end. The front gives me lighter, the back gives me heavier, and then I can also blend and do smooth or edge paint with this brush. So that's why we bother with this guy, is it's like 3 brushes in one brush.
Could you switch to a little bit of a brighter color?
Yeah, let me do that. You zoom in though. They don't need to look at this from overhead. They need to look at
You
it.
couldn't see it on the other one.
But yeah, but zoom in though. So see how this is very light, but I can get an edge or an edge here if I go down. So, and then if I come back, it gives me more of that blended heavier. So there's just, that's the difference. And you can see dry brushes incredibly well. I've got the edge that I can paint on. The toe. I can even do some lining with it almost if I'm very, very careful. So it just has a lot of marks. This brush just makes a lot of marks.
There is a lot of interest for a color mixing class.
And I have so many! You just tell them about them.
Yes, we do.
I-
We have...
But the 8 colors that every beginner should have or every artist needs, that's the one you can't miss.
Yes,
Watch
that
the
one.
8 colors and then you can go on to other things. I give you permission. Come here and just maybe be a little bit lighter this time.
Little noggin. Little noggin. You did a little bird.
How's a little bird?
You did a little
How's
bird.
a little bird?
You did a little bird.
Just a little bird.
You did a little bird.
Go ahead and get a little of my
Birds are cute.
kind of phthalo blue happening here, and I will fluff a bit so that little of those feathers will kind of be there. I'll have to put some of those white flicks back.
Yes.
And I'm going to come back and add a little more blue to the back of that wing, and then let's get a little blue and white. Just enough. It's still a dark blue, but so that the blue shows, and we're going to make some little lines there. And rinse off back into my white. And if it's the fluid white, that's great, because that will do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of pull those up there. Okay, a little bit of phthalo blue and phthalo green and a ton of my fluid white, or, oh, even better, my zinc. Just right up here at the front. A little bit of that color. Oh, it's just such a neat pop.
The bird.
And a little bit right here. Just pulling that back in.
The bird.
I like to kind of pull back.
The bird.
Bring a little turquoise down because that just looks super nice.
Such a fluffy face.
It's just super fluffy. A little bit of turquoise there.
It's really coming together.
He's just so pretty. And it's got a little zinc and blue here. A little bit of black. Oops, sorry. Needs to be a little thinner for that brush stroke to work.
Who are you apologizing to?
Oh, them at home. Whenever I do something that they can't see or doesn't work, just in case they're painting along with me, I always apologize because
mistakes happen and it's okay.
mistakes happen and it's okay. Thank you for finishing my sentence.
Just a little oopsie.
Okay. So now we're going to dry everything, and then the last minute,
Dry.
dry. The pop on that is going to be just so much.
And we're going to dry, and we're so close to finishing this painting. It's awesome. Such a good bird. Such a good bird. I can tell. Just looks like a good bird who sings very beautiful songs. Just a birdie bird. Oop, and then we're going to go back on. And then we are going to step.
Yes. And then we're going to get some just cad yellow on our D brush. DD brush. I'm going to come over the yellow that I painted white very carefully. Short brush strokes. I don't want to leave any of my white. And I shouldn't need any glaze, and the reason I shouldn't need any glaze is because it should be able to be so transparent. Like so transparent on its own that it just goes over the white the way we would have intended. Right back up this little edge here. A little bit of yellow with some purple in it again. Just a little less. Well, he's got some bright glow, doesn't he?
Yeah.
A little bit of yellow over into my purple again. And that will just let that yellow kind of like tip out like there's just some feathers that have gotten some highlights.
What is the difference between turquoise, teal, and aqua?
Whew, that's a good question. So turquoise can actually have aqua and teal in it if you look at turquoise. Turquoise is a big range of blue greens. Turquoise generally is done with your phthalo blue green shade and your phthalo green blue shade. Teal is generally done with your ultramarine blue and your green, your teal, your phthalo green. And aqua is generally done with a lot more yellow in that mix, and it's a lighter value.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. Like I could mix. I should do like how to mix those colors. Like if that's interesting, I could do how to mix those colors.
I think a color mixing video would be really good.
That would be like, you know what, if you get those questions into the comments. I'm going to get some just yellow over here with just a smidge of red. And I think I'm just pretty much almost done. I just want to put some orange in this. Okay. Doing pretty good. Now, what step are we on?
We are in step 14.
Oh, excellent, because I don't want to be on a sooner step than that. All right, and come here. Make sure that the white markings in the belly are good. He's a cutie patootie for sure. Now, there's some interesting stuff, okay, that we can do. I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and some of my burnt sienna and my glaze and my dome. And I'm going to start to make sure that he pops.
I think you gotta tickle his belly real quick. there there was so many. Honey, you gotta tickle the bird. Tickle the bird. Deserves some tickles.
He does deserve some tickles. He's had a very hard time. He deserves some tickles. And I'm just making sure that in
Got
the
caught in
area
the
that is
rain.
quite light is maybe got a bit of a darker value around it. If that makes sense. So I'm just glazing with a little bit of blue and my ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt sienna and glazing medium.
Would you be interested in doing a demo painting with a squeegee?
Yeah, those are super fun. That's a tactical one. That's like painting on glass where you got to paint in reverse.
Paint in reverse.
Yeah, it's got to be. You just paint in reverse. Your last layer then becomes your first layer. So you can kind of see that I'm getting a little bit of this pumped up so that he will, where he's light, but because it's glazed, because I'm diffusing it, because it's into this diffused vocal area, then I can play with these values and not be stressed up about them. And I'll put some more over here. The trick on anything will be consistency and distribution. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm just making sure I've got good distribution of that range. Now once I have him valued in where I'm happy, where I'm like, oh, and you'll notice my big thing here about my camouflage is making uneven patterns, right? That's how we're camouflaging, is we're trying to make erratic patterns that you would see in nature. I'm going to pull this away. I've got my fluid paint out, and I've got to find my detail brush. There it is. So you could do this a fast way with a splatter, and I will try it, but I don't have my splatter brush anywhere. Could not even tell you what happened to it. Well, I don't know because I have to hand splatter. This is probably it. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make little splashes that come
Are you
up.
wanting to step here then?
Yeah, please step. We're going to try to splat. I'm using my detail number 1, and I am trying to make sure that we've got some nice big drops that I've got control over to show that water's hitting this. I have to try to figure out how to splatter it, I think. All right, so something that I might be able to do is if someone will hand me my paper towel, and I will try to figure out how to work around the splatter brush. Pad me paper towels. They're right there. Thank you. Okay, I really just don't want it to do the big splatters below the paper towels. That's why I put that there, is to sort of control this. And I'm going to do the whack method. You should do the toothbrush splatter method, but I'm going to try to do the whacking method. So I will take this brush and I will get it a little bit wet with clean water. And I will, and this will be, you can hand dot it like I was doing with the fluid white paint. I think I need a heavier brush to do the whack. Brushes of equal weights. And I'm just going to try to get some particulate splatter up there that I don't have to do every single one. And then before any of it has a chance to dry, I will go ahead and take a clean damp brush and clean up any splatters that are on the underside of my leaf, if I can.
was going to ask you how you were going to fix that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can do. The other thing I can do is glaze it. Well, because the leaf is so splattered, I could glaze. That one's all at the top, so I'm not too bad there. And the ones that are down here haven't hurt the underside look of it. So as long as I have a loose sort of splattering up there, then I can come back with my little detail brush.
That really pulled it all together.
So yeah, so that makes it look like something's hitting it. And the reason I went through the anxiety and trouble of doing the wax splatter is it will give you better randomization than sometimes we will give ourselves by hand, is what it is. So then I'm going to come here and I'm going to take a little bit of white and just dot that, and as just carefully as I can. If I can give his little beak a highlight. You can see sometimes I'll clean up that line. Get some glazy medium and some background color. Just making sure that that line is very, very fine. Oh my goodness, I think he came out so cute. He's a big boy today.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. We're doing bigger projects. We're asking more of ourselves. We are totally doing it. Now you could add drips off the leaves. I'd say that's the only thing that you could add, maybe like 3 drips coming off at different lengths. That could be interesting, but I feel like we're good here. So I'm going to take my paint, and I think I'm going to take my fluid paint over to, I don't know, yellow green. There you go. And I will do a signature. And I would love to know what everybody thought.
Yes.
Can we get a close-up?
I did. I gave a close-up, and I will give a close-up again
I may not
be.
where we are on the chat, too. I haven't checked my chat in a minute.
Oh, it's okay.
All right. So I've made a little yellow, and I'm going to come down here at the corner. There we go. You give it a signature, and then there you are. You have your fabulous bird being sheltered. And I want to shout out Trish Woods. I don't know if you're here or you'll make it to the end of the video, Trish. But I totally got your comment and get how you feel. I do think this painting is a great painting for the time. I think we can all relate to feeling like this little birdo. Absolutely. We could be like, yeah, I get how it feels to be him. It could be a little bit harder than you think. I think we've all sheltered under a leaf from time to time and gotten a little rain. So that's how I would create that effect of a little animal taking shelter under a leaf or under something in a bokeh background, and how I would pull them against each other. I really hope you guys loved today's class. The next one is the forest that y'all voted on. And I won't be even as hard as this one, even though I have it rated at a 3 hoot. It just has a lot of leaves, but it's actually very simple techniques. The forest is coming up, and then we have the deer. And then you guys, if you follow my Facebook personal page, I accidentally posted the 2 new naming ones up there. So you've got the really hysterical little snowman and the tree coming up. We've got lots of fun stuff coming up. I've got that great pumpkin still life coming up. That one's going to be a deep dive. So lots of good stuff, but there are 1 hoots coming. Watch for shorts like Mr. B coming up, 1 hoot. And that one's one that's going to show everybody that they can draw. That one's whole is like to show you guys that you can draw. I may have us do the sick day painting, just drop it because it's an autumn mountain and it's a 1 hoot. So 1 Hoots are coming, hang in. Those are the most beginner. And if any of this was hard, remember we've got that free beginner acrylic course that gets you caught up to all the techniques and terms. And I'll keep working on simplifying it. Ask me those questions. I'm happy to answer them. Makes me happy to answer your questions.
Yes.
You ready?
Yep.
Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I'll see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.